hello there, humans, bees, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it too. I'm Bushka on Blitz, and this is the IS2SH, or as I like to call it, the shh. A little bit of quiet. There's not much quiet about what I'm doing. Today is obviously a Patreon-sponsored post. For those of you who don't know, Patreon is basically the grease that keeps the wheels turning around here. They sponsor the channel and all kinds of things. It's just lovely. If you want to sponsor the channel, click there. Lots of stuff going on. We're going to have a Patreon training room for NA next week too. This is the IS. Now, you're going to notice there are remarkable similarities between the two. The turrets look very similar. The chassis is very similar. And the guns are very similar. This is a Tier 7 Russian heavy. And the IS2SH, while it looks similar, certainly has a lot of differences, both in terms of play style and in terms of the profile of the tank. What it's really got going for it, which is surprising and something that I think you'll notice if you look hard at it, it's actually quite a small tank for a Tier 8 heavy. It is very low to the ground, even for a tank that's a rear-mounted turret tank and not like an IS series with that tiny little pike nose and such. And it allows it, look, you're completely hidden there behind that IS-3. It really allows it to get to some odd spots and use odd bits of the field for cover. It's rough, it's tough. It gets through an awful lot of business with side scraping. It's a brilliant side scraper. If you've driven the VKI 4502, that's what you're looking at. It's a very, very similar play style. I mean, you can't bounce everything. It's not that kind of a tank. The armor profile isn't that tremendous, but you can see if you learn how to side scrape and just keep your angles really well, you are going to get a lot of bounces in this tank. And not all stories end successfully, but it can certainly maximize your lifespan. Good armor profile. The thing that it has going against it, obviously, is the Rushki gun. It's also good that this tank's part of an event that's realistic, that there's actually a chance of winning and getting through. The grind on the event is not exactly the most onerous. It's not easy, but it's not where you're going to have to spend 12,000 gold at the end to get the tank, which I think was the case with the Goose event, and it really limited the number of people that got the tank, and it really limited the joy of the event itself. Let's talk a little bit about the gun, because I think it's the worst part of the tank. It is a standard Russian heavy tank gun. But wow, look at that aim time. It's legit. The aim time is just so bloody legit. You've got, it's a 122mm D52, D25 TA. Now, you might recognize that gun because if you're driving around in a lot of heavy tanks at Tier 6 and Tier 8, you'd know that there are quite a few tanks out there that run a 122mm gun. The IS-6 runs a 122mm gun. The IS-5 runs a 122mm gun. The IS-3 runs the BL9 122mm gun, and the IS-3 Defender, so on, so on, so on, so on. You get it. It's a 400 alpha damage gun, and that gun will do all kinds of nasty stuff up close and personal. But if you want to be good with this tank, this is not the range to be doing it. There's no surprise that this game was a loss. What you want to be doing with the tank is actually being quite aggressive. It's going to favor someone who's actually good at side scraping and angling and being aware of where the enemy is, because if you can do that, you can get a lot of bang for your buck out of this tank and where the enemy is likely to pop up. And you can see here, it looks really nice. Like, I think the tank looks good itself. And you can see I'm now going to just move to my next side scrape position here, trying to get shots against this AMX M445. Just bouncing and wiggling and jiggling, and you can see, because it is a rear turreted tank, it gets so much more length along the sides that it can expose, and it is so much easier for it to actually withdraw and get shots off in a side scrape position. And then because of the size of the tank, it can quite often slip down behind targets where you don't expect to see it and be free and clear. Like, you can't hit this tank a lot of the time. I think it looks quite a treat. I really enjoy it. And you can see I'm angling around again. I'm moving to my next position. I'm going to side scrape my next position. You can't always bounce everything, but you can bounce a lot. And that's the key here, really. And the tank, while it is not particularly accurate, it's very, very tough. And even when they're firing high explosive anti-tank at you, like that T-62 2 Dragon is doing, you can still put an awful lot of pressure on them because you're an intimidating vehicle. And even when you go down, you know, we held a flank there, we bounced a lot of shots, we extended our lifetime, we held targets off that Tiger 2 and we put a lot of damage in. I highly recommend this. I enjoyed this tank, so much. I don't know that it's better than the other Tier 8 heavy tanks. Its competition is really pretty solid. You've got the IS-6, you've got the IS-3 Defender, you've got the IS-3, you've got the IS-5. They're all very, very much of a muchness, but this is the best side scraper out of the lot. You don't have to worry about exposing a pike nose, and this is being played all the time. I didn't have enough spare parts to actually equip this one. This is being played with gun rammer, protected modules, and optics. If I was going to do anything with this tank, it would be the gun handling route for combat power. I would go gun rammer, enhanced gun laying drive, and vertical stabilizer. You want to make sure that as many shots as possible go in. Look at the size of the tank. See how there is a berm in front of me? I'm able to hide the nose of the tank, even though it is rear mounted, and this is often an issue for rear mounted tanks, getting shots when they've got to expose that area in front. You're going to get hit occasionally, that's fair enough, but it's actually quite low to the ground. So the guys on my left couldn't get the shot in. It was the actual stealthed up T-34 that did the damage there. And now that I know where he is, I find it very, very simple just to stay out of his way and do damage and not take any coming back. We're just going to duck out, hit the stubborn Emil, pull back. I mean, it's exactly what's on the cover. It's a tough as nails, big, derpy, intimidating 122mm tank that doesn't have incredible mobility, but when put in the right situation, i.e. a brawl or a corner fight, can absolutely belt the pants out of people. I enjoy driving this so much. I think it's a cracker. The big skill for me on the second tier for this is enhanced armor. 5% more armor is absolutely gorgeous with it. And then I'd go toolbox on the top tier. This is all the equipment loadout. The 7% to top traverse speed of the vehicle, and then the 10% to consumable cooldown, because when you're side scraping and such, you always want to maximize the amount of time you have your consumables up. And you're going to see me doing some side scraping here, and indeed, look at this. Oh, snapshot. Don't expect it to be doing that too often, because as I mentioned previously, the gun has a 5.6 second aim time and 0.394 dispersion. So those numbers do not scream solid gun handling, able to hit snapshots like that anytime soon. Again, I've taken up my little side scraping position here. That's a very good gun on that AMX 5100. Got to expect that you're going to get hit sometimes by tanks like that. I'm looking over the nose of this tank, and then I'm going to pull back again. He's going to ping me one more time. Very careless play by myself. I could have pushed in much harder than that. Your gun depression is an issue. You've got bugger all gun depression because the turret is actually at the back. So even the listed numbers don't tell the true story, because it is actually a lot tougher to get a shot off with this thing than you'd expect. And there we go. We get our angles correct that time and absolutely do the business. And then we're just waiting, resetting the camo, waiting for the gun to reload. There's a Panther that's pushing up. We angle up again. Easy shot on the Panther, and he got nothing but really strong side armor. Your penetration numbers, again, good. Very similar, much of a much as 221 and 270 on your heat. You fire APCR as a standard ammunition form. Your speed is pretty good as well. Traverse speed of 30 degrees without any buffs, just running rations and full crew skills. Your top speed is going to run out about... Well, that's interesting. Obviously, your top speed's all well and good, having a top speed of 42 kilometers an hour, but you're not going to get it too often. And your traverse speed on your tracks is about 30 degrees. I highly, highly recommend this tank, guys. It is a crackerjack vehicle. It's a lot of fun, and it will be brilliant if you learn how to side scrape, because if you can side scrape in this thing, you can have an absolute barrel of laughs. You can see how I play it. It's very much I think the accepted norm for anyone who plays these tanks a lot would be to play it as that very aggressive kind of corner fighter, side scraping machine, like an old school E75 before everyone started driving fast tanks and big TDs. I'm Bushka on Blitz, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I really enjoyed doing the video. I hope you get the tank. It's well worth the grind. And it's a little bit unique too. There's never been a tank at tier 8 quite like this, with the ability to side scrape off corners and do the whole rear turreted thing. If you like the VK45 O2B, that is easily its most comparable tank. It is very strong armor profile wise against same tier competition. It is very easy to side scrape because it is so long, and you can withdraw the tank further. Like you can get the gun out quicker. Like you only have to take a couple of meters back and not expose the upper glacis or the lower glacis at the front of the tank to get shots off. Whereas with an IS, with a VK4502B, you do the same thing, but with like an IS6.
Yeah, lob on there.
That's on the because your turret is mounted at the front.
In the UK,
when you pull back, your pike nose
the other
is
thing,
exposed.
streams have been brilliant.
The
Streams have been really good lately. I'm going to be doing a stream for the ammo rack competition on the NA server on Monday. I'll post.
Until next time, boys and girls, look after yourselves, and as well as that,
don't forget I'm going to Bobington.
They've dropped a lot of
tank
funding
fest
from YouTube for advertising. Advertising numbers on YouTube have been going down for the past couple of years in terms of the return on your investment, which has been very, very tough. But what they've done is they've actually, some YouTube advertisers have pulled advertising from channels or games which they consider to be not complimentary. In the wargaming thing, war games can sometimes hurt from that. I think Jingles had some issues with that. So the streams have been brilliant. Keep turning out to the streams. We had 320 in the stream for NA last week, and we had 200 last night on Asia server on a Thursday night as well. And they're pretty solid numbers, and there's people donating in those streams, and that's making up the lost revenue that we've missed out on channel from advertising. I know some people don't like to hear this, and they just like to live in a utopia where no one ever asks them for money or to sponsor or do anything like that, and they find it offensive. And then they have to actually go and pay their own bills from their job and stuff, and it's like, well, so do we. So there you go. That's what's going on channel. I'd like to thank, finally, one quick one. My girl's been away for 2 weeks, and I'd like her to thank her for all the things she does for me and Junior live on air, because my God, we've struggled without her, and I can't wait to see her tomorrow morning. Until next time, boys and girls, look after your families. Love your mum. Give your dad a pat in the head. Stay safe on the battlefield.